Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, today we're diving into something really tough. That feeling when you see amazing potential in someone, maybe a partner, family member, friend, but their actual behavior just never quite matches up.
Right. It's that gap between the person you imagine they could be
Okay.
and the person who's actually showing up day after day. It
Yeah,
can be incredibly painful.
absolutely. And we're looking at some great source material today that tries to give us a roadmap. So our mission is pretty clear. Figure out what really makes people change, how to tell the difference between, reasonable hope and just projecting our own wishes, and what you can actually do when things just stay stuck. And let's just get the sort of core insight out there right away because it's foundational, really. People change when they're ready, not when we want them to.
Yeah, not because we begged or, laid down an ultimatum.
Exactly. The source is really clear on this. Change happens when their own patterns start causing them pain. When reality kind of humbles them, or when staying the same actually costs them something important, their job maybe, or a key relationship. That's such a crucial shift in perspective. We always think, but look how much I'm hurting. But our pain, unfortunately, rarely flips their switch. Which brings us right into our first section, the trap of potential and patterns. Okay, I love this line from the source. People reveal themselves through their patterns, not their words. We listen so much, but maybe we don't observe enough.
That's it, exactly. We get swayed by promises, apologies, the right words. But the source insists we need to look at actions like data points. Think about simple physical habits.
By taking the same route to work.
Yeah, or eating the same breakfast. Even those little things take real effort to change, don't they?
Totally.
Well, the mental and emotional patterns, they're wired infinitely deeper, rooted in core beliefs, survival stuff. The Force actually uses the term life-altering events, suggesting it often takes a real crisis to shake those patterns loose.
Life-altering. Okay, so not just gentle suggestions.
Probably not minor complaints, gentle nudges.
Mhm.
They usually don't reach that deep operating system.
But, okay, here's a question then. How do you know if it's a deep-seated pattern versus just someone having a really rough time, a bad patch?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it comes back to tracking. A bad patch is usually, finite. It's tied to something specific, losing a job, grieving, and you usually see some effort towards getting back on track, even if it's slow.
Okay.
A pattern, though,
Yeah.
it's cyclical. It repeats the same outcome over and over, often regardless of what else is going on. And crucially, there's often no new strategy being tried, despite maybe lots of talk about wanting to change.
It's like driving in a circle versus hitting a temporary roadblock.
Perfect analogy. And when we see that circle, that pattern, what do we often do? We focus on their potential.
Yes. The source is pretty blunt about this, calling it a projection. Like, it's a version of them that only exists in our heads, or,
Yeah.
or maybe it's tied to our own stuff. Our unfinished childhood needs. That's heavy.
It is heavy. And it requires some tough self-reflection, doesn't it? The person you're trying to fix, could they be standing in for something you needed but didn't get growing up, like reliability or consistent affirmation?
So we try to fix them to kind of fix ourselves.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, yeah. It's like if they change, maybe that old unmet need in us will finally feel satisfied. So we really have to ask, what need in me am I trying to meet by changing them?
Wow. And chasing that potential, that ghost version of them, it leads to losing ourselves, right? Letting boundaries slide, putting up with stuff.
Absolutely. It's that slow erosion the source talks about. You compromise here, make an exception there, because you're so attached to the hope, the future potential, that the current reality feels secondary.
Until you wake up years later and don't recognize yourself.
Exactly. The source warns about waking up 10 years down the line, realizing you've sacrificed your standards, maybe even your identity, for something that never actually materialized. We need to invest in the present, not the potential. Okay, that leads perfectly into section 2. Shifting from hope to data. If potential is the illusion, what's the reality check? The source says hope is not a strategy.
Right. The strategy is believing what they do. Become a tracker, not just a listener. Focus on the visible, measurable patterns. And the source gives some really concrete examples, which are super helpful.
Yeah, let's walk through those. These are like red flags based on actions, not words.
Someone who repeatedly disrespects your time. That says something fundamental about how they value you. Second,
The person who kind of vanishes when things get really tough.
like during a crisis.
Yeah.
Health scare, money problem, exactly. Character shows up when it's uncomfortable, not just when it's easy. Third, someone who consistently pushes past your boundaries, then tries to call it love or passion. Ooh, that one's tricky. They make your boundary seem like the problem. Totally insidious. Then there's the person who lies, maybe not maliciously, but to protect themselves from facing consequences. That erodes trust just as surely. And this one's big. The constant apologizer who never actually changes. The sorry cycle. The apology feels good to them, it relieves their tension, but it doesn't lead to different actions. It's just hitting reset.
So the source makes a distinction, right, between just saying you want to change and actually doing something.
Yes, huge distinction. Have they shown a plan? Have they sought help, like therapy or coaching? Have they committed actual time or resources? If it's just talk, just wishes.
Yeah.
The source says you're basically living in imagination.
Living in imagination. Wow. Okay.
And that's why we need the reality check.
Yeah.
Look past the charm, the words, the initial spark. Look at the real life stuff.
What does that look like, practically? Give us the picture.
Real life is how you handle an unexpected bill together.
Yeah.
It's how they treat you when they come home tired and bored after a long day. Still considerate.
Yeah.
Or just checked out. It's planning a vacation. Who does the work? Who follows through? It's waking up next to them when you're both stressed and unshowered and definitely not feeling romantic. That's the nitty-gritty. If those daily patterns are broken, potential isn't going to fix it.
Right. The small print of the relationship contract, as you said. And when we see those daily patterns failing, the instinct is often to jump in and fix it for them, which takes us to Section 3. Control is not love. The source says trying to change someone isn't care, it's covert control. It feels like care, doesn't it? Because we're putting in effort. But why are we putting in that effort? Often the source suggests it's about managing their chaos, their messy finances, their lack of follow-through so that we don't feel uncomfortable.
So we're trying to control them to control our feelings, like fear of being let down or fear of instability.
We're trying to avoid our own fear of abandonment, disappointment, maybe financial insecurity. So we try to manage them. And it's exhausting. And it doesn't work. Pretty much. Melody Beattie's work on codependency nails it. You can't force someone to be who they're not. You can only love them where they are or leave. Realizing you can't actually manage another adult is kind of freeing, actually. So if I'm trying to fix my partner's spending habits, maybe I need to look at my own issues around money security first.
That's the kind of self-inventory the source encourages. Is this their issue you're trying to solve? Or is it your anxiety being projected onto them?
Okay, so if control isn't the answer, what is? This brings us to radical acceptance, right? From DBT, Dr. Marshall Linehan's work.
Yes, radical acceptance. It means fully accepting reality as it is right now. Not necessarily liking it, not approving of it, but just stop fighting the fact that it is. The pain gap idea illustrates this well.
The pain gap. Explain that one.
Okay, imagine the gap between how you want things to be and how they actually are. So say you wanted sun, but it's pouring rain.
Okay. The pain, the stress, isn't just the rain itself. It's the fighting against the rain in your head. It shouldn't be raining. My plans are ruined. That struggle is the pain gap. Radical acceptance says, okay, it is raining. The fight stops. The gap shrinks. And then you have the clarity to decide what to do next. Find an umbrella. Stay inside. But wait, does accepting it just mean rolling over, giving up, tolerating bad behavior forever? That sounds kind of passive, even dangerous.
That's the key misunderstanding, and the source is emphatic here. Acceptance is not resignation. It's not condoning mistreatment. It's simply acknowledging reality. It's respect for what is.
Respect for reality.
Yeah, you see the rain, you see the pattern, you say, okay, this is what's happening. And from that place of clear seeing, you choose your response with full agency.
So I can accept that this is who they are right now, maybe even understand why they are that way, and still decide that it doesn't work for me and walk away.
Precisely. Acceptance gives you your power back. You stop waiting for them to change for you to feel okay. You decide how to make yourself okay now. The source actually frames tolerance as temporary, something you do while figuring out your next move, not a permanent state.
Okay, that clarity is huge. Let's go to Section 4, the environment. The source mentions the Pygmalion effect, people living up to expectations, but says you're the soil, not the sculptor. What does that mean?
It means recognizing the limits of your influence. You can provide a supportive, nourishing environment, good soil, sunlight, water, but you can't force the plant to grow or bloom if it doesn't turn towards the sun itself.
So trying to constantly educate them or criticize them, that's like too much harsh sun. It burns them.
Could be. They have to want the nourishment you offer. They have to be receptive. And often, the source points out, people are influenced more by who they hang out with, their broader environment, than by direct advice or lectures from one person.
Right. If their friends, their daily habits all reinforce the old pattern, my one voice isn't going to change much.
It's likely the Minority Report, yeah. So if they won't change their environment, sometimes the only and maybe most loving choice is to change the environment by removing yourself.
That feels counterintuitive, maybe, like giving up on someone you care about.
It can feel that way,
Hmm.
but there's actually research supporting it. The Journal of Positive Psychology has studies on something called disengagement coping.
Disengagement coping.
Yeah, basically letting go of situations or people that are fundamentally unchangeable, or where your efforts are just futile.
Hmm.
And the finding, people who practice this actually report higher well-being and less depression. It's choosing peace over a losing battle.
It makes me think of that Rumi quote the source used about why people shout when they argue. Because their hearts are far apart.
Exactly. The shouting, the complaining, the trying to force change. It doesn't bring hearts closer. It usually just increases the distance because it stems from non-acceptance, from trying to control.
So release the control, accept the reality, and then what? Define your own boundaries.
Yes, based on a clear inventory. You need to know your priorities, the absolute non-negotiables, things like basic respect, honesty, maybe financial stability if that's core for you.
Okay, the must-haves.
Right. And then you have your preferences, the nice-to-haves. Maybe you wish they were neater or shared your love for hiking. But you can live without those things. If they're consistently failing on your priorities, the potential becomes irrelevant noise.
And in the end, the only real control you have is over yourself. That's the bottom line. You can't control if they'll ever change, if they'll go to therapy, if they'll reach that potential you see. The only levers you truly control are, do I stay or do I go? And how do I choose to feel and act right now? That's where your power lies.
Wow. Okay, so let's recap the core insights from this deep dive. Change has to come from within them. Focus on the real patterns, not the imaginary potential. And use radical acceptance not to resign yourself, but to empower yourself to choose.
Look at the data, see your own projections for what they are, and prioritize your own peace. Okay, so here's a final thought for everyone listening, something to really chew on. We often stay stuck hoping for change, maybe out of fear of being alone. So ask yourself, what are you actively tolerating right now? What pattern? What lack of respect? What broken promise? Well, you tell yourself you're just figuring things out. And is that tolerance, that waiting period, actually chipping away at your sense of self? Is it breaking you while you wait? That gap between the reality you're living and the potential you're hoping for, only you can decide when to close it.